be about like that. Hopefully this thing holds up. Let's see. Just hit the knob to tighten this thing. Right there. Okay. Good. Ooh. There we go. How's that? It says I'm live. I don't know if anyone can hear me. Let's see. Okay. No one's watching yet. Let's see. One person's watching. I assume you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I just pulled over to get the chat started up. I'm on the highway. So I won't get into it in a few minutes after I get on the road. I want to see how well my camera or my phone holds up. I've got it hooked onto the, got one of those little clips that goes into the air vent to hold the phone. This is the first time I've ever tried this. So we'll see if this works. This is an experiment. Let's see, I'm trying to turn on the chat. Live chat. I can't be fooling with this while I'm driving, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really see the chat, and of course I can't type anything, but I can talk. So okay, somebody, I'm not quite on the highway yet, so somebody said something. Okay, it's on. So I'm going to assume you can at least hear me okay. I'll play the video tonight and see what the video and audio quality was like, but I promised I'd do a live stream from the road, so here we go. Safety is of utmost importance, so I got to keep my eyes on the road. So as long as it doesn't look like my phone is shifted, it looks like this is not a bad view. You can kind of see the landscape through my side window a little bit. Yeah, I see people chatting something, but I can't read it because I got to pay attention to the road, so I won't be able to respond to questions. But do leave a message on the video, and tonight when I watch it, I'll look at the messages and I'll reply. So I thought I'd do a live stream. And for those of you who watch my channel, know I'm on the road. Taking a vacation. Take me about 4 days. I'm going to go all through Utah and look at some scenic spots on my way to Arizona. Looks like my phone's holding up. It's holding pretty steady. It might vibrate a little as I go over bumps or something, but it doesn't look too bad. And I hope the audio is okay. There's only 2 people watching, but I'll save the video, so I'm sure lots of people will watch it later when they have time, or watch parts of it and skip ahead and stuff. But I said this video would be about pool. So I'll talk about pool. And let me get my cruise control set. I think this is a good idea too. It kind of helps to alleviate the boredom of driving. So the first question, where am I? I saw somebody said, guess Texas. I'm in Wyoming. And so you're probably thinking, Bob, I think you have a problem with your sense of direction. If you're going to Arizona, you're headed the wrong way. I'm actually taking the long way around. I'm going to drive through Utah top down, but the reason why I'm in Wyoming is it's always been on my bucket list to go to this place near Kemmerer, Wyoming. It's southwestern Wyoming, and there's a whole bunch of quarries there where you can dig for fossils, and it's like 99% fish fossils. But I've always wanted to go there. I thought it'd be fun, so that's where I'm going. That's my first stop, and then I'm going to work my way down through Utah. There's a bunch of really cool, in northeastern Utah, there's a bunch of really cool Indian petroglyph sites, and some of them are just on public land. You don't even, it's not managed in any way. There's no national park or anything. You just pull off on the road and go on a hike and look at them. I'm looking forward to doing that, but I'm going to take 4 or 5 days to get down to Arizona. So that's where I'm at. I'm in big sky country. Well, Montana's big sky country, but this is the same. Driving across Wyoming on I-80. Okay, so I said I'd talk about pool. I'm just going to kind of recount my experience with pool. What is my history of pool? How did I get into it? What have I done? Where have I been? Stuff like that. And I'll just kind of ramble on and try and tell the story in chronological order. I'll bet a lot of you have very, very similar experiences, and a lot of you have different experiences. Might not be all that exciting, but I think it's kind of interesting and funny. But I want to relate it to a principle that I discovered a while ago, and I didn't invent it. I've learned about it from other people who learn about it from other people. But it's really wise. I guess you kind of call it a life lesson. It's something that can apply to anything in life. It does apply to anything in life, but so of course it can apply to pool. 80-mile-an-hour speed limit in Wyoming. Let's go. And that's, I put the acronym in the title, YDKWYDK. And I've mentioned this in a different YouTube video. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. But what does that stand for? You can't pronounce it. It's just an acronym. It stands for you don't know what you don't know. So that seems pretty simple. Think about that for a little bit. Of course, if there's something that you haven't been educated on and you don't know it, you don't know it. But the point of the statement is you don't know what you don't know. That means concerning any subject in life, but we're talking about pool, there's a body of knowledge that encompasses everything that it's possible to know about pool. And when you start to learn things about pool and you get better at it and become an accomplished player, you can feel like you know a heck of a lot. But do you? Do you really? Because you don't know what you don't know. You may think you know 80% of what there is to know about pool. The reality is you might only know 20%. And you can't quantify that because you don't know what you don't know. This is a really important lesson for everything in life, but especially for pool. And it's one that I had to learn because I went through a good part of my career not knowing this and making making those mistakes. And a lot of people do that. It's important not to be critical of people because another truism that I like to say about pool is no one has the right to tell anyone else how to enjoy the game of pool. So you may not like the way someone goes about their pool business, but unless if they're receptive to learning, it's not up to you to help them or teach them. You don't have a right to tell someone else what to do. So if they haven't learned this lesson yet, just nudge them along the way and hopefully they'll learn it at some point. And I learned it eventually, but it took quite a while. So let's see. Are there people watching? Yeah, somebody cares. So how did I get into pool and how does that relate to this lesson? All right, let's start at the beginning. Let's see. I grew up in Wisconsin. I should have turned that off. Hang up. Probably just a sales call anyway. Okay, I grew up in Wisconsin. 18 years old, I couldn't wait to move away from home. Got an apartment. Wet behind the ears, didn't know anything. And just down the road from the first apartment I got, there was a big bowling alley. You know how bowling alleys used to be. And there was a recreation room off to the side in the back of the bowling alley. and they had 4 pool tables in there, and I didn't know it at the time, but those were 9-foot Brunswick Gold Crowns. I bet they were number ones. So this would have been 1980. Whoa! Wow. That popped up right away. I just ran over a remnant of a truck tire. That sounded terrible, but my car appears fine. Wow, that was scary. So 1980, and so I for whatever reason I got into a habit of going to this bowling alley, not to bowl, to go play pool, and I loved it. It was to this day it's the same way, and I wonder how many of you are like this. Oh yeah, there's some more of the tire that exploded. I'm able to dodge it now. Gee whiz. That's what happens with those retread truck tires. Sometimes they explode on the highway. I could go there and spend the entire afternoon and not get bored for one single moment. And maybe that's something that just a lot of people, how a lot of people get attracted to pool. It's just interesting. It's just, I don't know, it's just interesting. All those balls rolling around, and it's a challenge trying to pocket the balls. And so that's how I got started in pool. I didn't know anything about pool up till that point. My only exposure to pool before that was at my cousin's house, because there was 3 of the relatives' houses, and every holiday, Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving, we would alternate and go to a different relative's house. And I loved it when we went to my cousin's house down in Neenah, because in his basement he had a pool table, and I thought that was cool. But it was probably a 8-foot table, might have been 7 foot, probably 8 foot, and it was like at an angle wedged into this room that was too small for it. And whenever you were at the diagonal corners, you had to grab a cube in order to play. That's pretty funny. So that was my only experience as a little kid playing on that table. But then when I was 18 and on my own, I started playing on those Gold Crowns at the bowling alley. Just loved it. And this is 1980. There's not much in the way of instruction. I had seen the television shows with Minnesota Fats and Willie Mosconi, with Howard Cosell narrating, and so I was familiar with that. But that was it. That was the extent of my knowledge. I didn't know anything. And when I started playing pool, all I was trying to do was pocket balls. I knew who Willie Mosconi was, and I knew what straight pool was. And I thought straight pool was pool. I thought pool and straight pool, same thing. I didn't realize there were other games in the beginning. And that could be part of the reason why I still love straight pool. But is anybody even watching? It doesn't look like it. Oh, there's 7 people watching. Cool. Let me be careful and make my lane change here. So I loved it, and I decided I wanted to play pool, and I realized, hey, if I'm going to do this, I need my own pool cue. So, but I didn't know anything about pool cues. What's the theme of this talk? YDKWYDK. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know. So I went down to the local billiard supply store in town, which of course their main avenue of business was selling hot tubs, the billiard store and hot tub. And I bought a pool cue, and it was, later on I realized, it was the biggest piece of junk ever. It was a 4-piece pool cue in one of those short cases with 4 slots. It had a screw-on tip, and the butt of the cue was a dark wood that had been like carved, like a spoon carved wood. It was just all textured with all. But it was my own pool cue, and at first I thought it was cool as hell, but no, it was firewood. It was absolute junk. But I played with that for a while until I finally realized that wasn't a good cue, and I better get something better. Back then, you didn't have very many resources to learn, but all I had at that point, I had bought Willie Mosconi's book on how to play. So based on what I read there, I was trying to figure out how to play. But there was one other resource back then, and that's Pool and Billiard Magazine. And as I looked at Pool and Billiard Magazine, I realized that the pictures of the pool cues that you see in that magazine, they didn't look anything like the pool cue that I bought. And I was like, oh, you see, you don't know what you don't know. So I finally realized, they make a lot better pool cues than this one. And if I want to be a pool player, I better do that. So I looked at the ads in Pool and Billiard Magazine, and I tried to figure out what I might want. And so back to the store, and that store did have a selection of some proper two-piece jointed pool cues. And I had to save up my money, and I bought, I think it was the most basic model of McDermott production cue. I think it was called the D1, M1, D1, something like that. Pretty plain cue with a linen wrap, glue on tip, of course, with a nice ferrule maple shaft. And I think it was $90. And that doesn't sound like much today, but back then, 1980, $90 was that was their cheapest cue, but that was still a good amount of money. I had to save up for a couple of weeks to be able to afford that cue. And I played with that McDermott for a long time. I don't know how long, probably at least 10 years. Just fine. Good playing cue. Nothing wrong with that. Not by today's standards, of course. Maple shaft is high deflection, but that's what I played with. So let's see. So I bought that cue. When did I buy that? Did I buy that in Wisconsin or Colorado? I must have bought it in Wisconsin, because the real beginning of my pool career was after I had that cue in Wisconsin. And I started, a buddy of mine also liked to play pool, and we started going out to the clubs. And in Wisconsin at that time, the drinking age was 18. So I learned what beer tastes like, and that was nice. And so we went to the clubs, and there was this one club a big club, and it was a rock and roll club, not so much a dance club, but they had a dance floor. They had live bands like 5 nights a week. And you walked in the door, right in front when you walked in the door were two pool tables. And of course they were 7-foot Valley bar tables. I didn't know that then, but of course that's what they were. And they had the heavy mud cue ball, that oversized cue ball. And so me and my friend went down there every weekend, and sometimes more often, and played pool and drank beer and tried to talk to girls, which we were terrible at, and listened to the live bands. And it was always a challenge. They were challenge tables, so it was always doubles 8-ball. So me and my buddy were partners, and sometimes we won, sometimes we lost. If you lost, you'd put your quarters up on the other table and try and win that table. And it was just winner holds the table. And once in a while you'd play for a few dollars, but mostly it was winner holds the table. And that was a real learning experience. I wish that I could go back in time and watch, because I'm certain that we were just terrible. I bet I never ran out of racket or 8-ball ever. I remember that I loved to draw the ball. Ah, man, I was so proud of myself. I could draw that cue ball back, even that mud cue ball. But I know I drew it back on every shot, even though I didn't need to. So the really funny thing that happened was, and this relates to you don't know what you don't know. At some point, I don't know how long, probably 1981, 82, I was looking in this paper, and there was an ad in the newspaper that caught my eye. And it said, it was an advertisement for a 9-ball tournament. And I had never played 9-ball before, but I understood what it was. And I grew up in the town of Appleton, and the tournament was in Green Bay, home of the Green Bay Packers, about 30 miles to the northeast. And I showed the ad to my buddy, and it was like, hey man, we're pretty good. We should go play in this 9-ball tournament. Yeah, let's go play. All right. So the day of the tournament comes up. I don't even know if we bothered to try practicing 9-ball even at all. And of course we're two 19, 20-year-old kids. We were late. So we hopped in his Chevy Nova, his souped up Chevy Nova, and we did 90 miles an hour down the highway to get to Green Bay. and then try and and there's no cell phones with GPS. We're trying to navigate with a road map. Where is it? Where is it? Trying to find this pool hall. We had never been to Green Bay before. So we go into this pool hall and we go into this tournament, paid our entry fee. I lost both of my matches, of course. I doubt if I won a game. I think my friend won his first match, but then he lost the next two. Absolutely clueless about 9-ball tournaments, playing safe, anything. But it was an eye-opener because you don't know what you don't know. If you're raised in a small town and you're only exposed to this sphere of competency, then that's all you know. I think that's different today because of the internet. I think people, no matter how remote they live or what their experiences are like, everyone can kind of get a similar exposure to the sport today. But back then, that wasn't the case. So that was a real eye-opener. We were like, oh, I mean, really, jaw on the floor. Oh, that's how you play 9-ball. And I'm sure there were some good players there, but probably just some real good amateur players. But that was really impressive. And so that made me realize, oh, I thought I was very competent. I'm sure if I could go back in time and look at myself, I was terrible, probably just awful. Anyway, but that's okay. I enjoyed the game anyway. So it's okay. I wish I would have learned quicker, but it took me a while to figure out what I didn't know. And who knows what I don't know today. Fast forward 1983. Fast forward 3 years. So 1983, I'm 21 years old. Got fired from my job. Didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Decided I wanted to go to college to be an architect, and I'm going to do that in Colorado. So I borrowed some money from my parents. I got on an airplane with nothing but a duffel bag full of clothes, and I flew to Denver, Colorado, because I thought I was going to go to school at the University of Colorado Boulder. So I was going to go to Colorado, work for a year, and then go to school and be an architect. And of course, and then so when I got to Colorado, I took the bus up to Boulder. And the very first night, I got a room in a youth hostel, and then the very next day, I had like $300 in my pocket. The very next day, I went and rented a room, and not even an apartment by myself. I couldn't afford that. I got a room on the hill. People who know Boulder know what I'm talking about. The hill is where the higher elevation part of Boulder, where the university is, and where all the university housing is, especially the apartments. All of the single-family homes to the west of the university there are rentals for university students. So I got a room in a house with 4 other college students, and I thought that was really cool. But I had to get a job, so I got to work. I moved to Colorado in October. Now remember the day. It was October 23rd of 1983. And what happens a week after October 23rd? It's Halloween, folks. Why is that important? Because back then, early 1980s, they had a thing called the mall crawl. Boulder, Colorado has a pedestrian mall, like 4 or 5 blocks where there's no cars, just pedestrians, and all the shops downtown. Well, for Halloween, just Halloween night, they allowed open container alcohol on the mall. And let me tell you, it was a party. So here's a 21-year-old wet behind the ears kid from Wisconsin, and these my brand new college roommates that I just moved in with took me down with them to Pearl Street Mall for Halloween, and we drank and we did other stuff, and wow, what an eye-opener that was. Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with pool, but I think you get the picture. I was like, hey man, this is gonna be great. Let's see. So 1980, I had to work, and I actually didn't play a lot of pool. I ended up with a live-in girlfriend, and I got a job, and I was a Radio Shack store manager. And I didn't play much pool for a few years. I got transferred up to, after a few years, after a couple of years, I got transferred up to Laramie, Wyoming. Notice I forgot about going to college to become an architect. So, too busy with playing pool and other things. So I got transferred to Laramie, Wyoming. And so now I'm solo up in Laramie, Wyoming, which I just drove through an hour ago. And I don't want to say anything bad about Laramie, but if you ever get an idea to travel to Laramie and go see what it's all about, don't bother. And that's all I'll say about that. But I needed something to do in Laramie. And they have a pool hall in Laramie, so I started playing pool again. And I don't think I had the same cue. I think I bought another Plain Jane McDermott or something like that. And I think, so I played in leagues there, and I had some buddies there. We played and gambled real cheap, 9-ball. And so I was a better player then than I was in Wisconsin. But I guarantee you I was still nowhere near as good of a player as I thought I was. I remember that I got scolded once for making a shot and twirling my cue around like Tom Cruise in Color of Money, which probably hadn't come out yet. But so that, remember, the theme of this talk is you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that showboating when you made a shot is bad etiquette in the pool hall. I learned. Guy got in my face over it, and rightfully so. So I learned. You don't know what you don't know until you learn it. You don't know that it's something you should learn about. So anyway, I only lived in Laramie for a year, played a lot of pool in that pool hall. They had Gandies, probably 6-inch pockets on those Gandies with beige cloth. I was like, okay. Yeah, I didn't know the difference. I was playing pool. I liked it. After a year of that, I went back to Boulder, and then eventually back then eventually down to Denver. And I ended up in an apartment on Wadsworth Boulevard in Denver, west side of Denver. And I didn't know this, or maybe they opened up after I got the apartment. But there was a pool hall right across the street, and I could walk across the street to play pool. Man, I was in heaven. And this pool hall is just kind of a suburban pool hall, and they also had Gandy tables, and probably had 6-inch pockets. And it had green. Yeah, it had green cloth, green felt instead of beige, I think. I don't remember. And actually ended up working there. I had a part-time job there working behind the counter. Very, very basic, bare-bones pool hall. It was across the street from the high school. I do not think they had a liquor. No, they did not have a liquor license. It was just pool and soda and candy bars. That was all. Very, very bare-bones. But there were players in there who were a little more serious about the game. Okay, so now I'm starting to take pool a little bit more seriously. And I could play a little bit better. Still wasn't good, but I didn't know how good I was. And I know that I thought I was better than I was. Sure. This is the first time at that pool hall. It was called Side Pockets. Side Pockets in Arvada, Colorado. Arvada. And I remember somebody telling me, you shouldn't move your elbow so much. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Back then, I had what we call a water pump stroke. My elbow would do this on the stroke. So this is probably around 1987. And the reason why I did that is because I was watching Efren Reyes. Efren Reyes came over to the United States in 1985, and he caused a sensation when he first came over. And we were watching Efren Reyes to try and figure out how did he play so good. And I mistakenly saw him doing this. Thought that's what you're supposed to do. So I moved my elbow too much. It was a water pump elbow. And then historically, I always jumped up on my shots too. And I didn't know I was doing it until this one guy took me aside. He said, let me show you. He said, get down on your shot and get ready to shoot this ball. He says, okay, go ahead and shoot this ball. And I started to shoot it, and as I was shooting it, my head came up and hit his hand, because he has put his hand above my head. And I was like, whoa, what the heck? What are you doing? He was like, don't move your head when you shoot. What? Why not? What? Huh? It was, yeah, I was terrible. It had already been an integral part of every shot. I went like that, right? So this was a learning experience. This was probably the third or fourth time now where something was being brought to my attention that made me realize I didn't know what I didn't know. There's more to learn. Around the same time, this neighborhood pool hall in Nevada, they would close. I don't know when they closed. Was it midnight? 10 p.m., 11, midnight, something like that. They would close, and of course a bunch of us guys were there till close. We would all hop in the car and drive down to Sheridan and Colfax, because down there was a real pool hall. That was the first, honest to goodness, genuine pool hall. I'm talking good players, not just players who thought they were good. I'm talking about advanced and semi-pro players, in addition to pro players. Colfax Billiards. Some of you have probably been there. It's long been out of business, but this was late 1980s through the 90s. Colfax Billiards, Sheridan and Colfax in Denver. So we'd go down there around midnight, and it was open 24 hours. There'd be people in there gambling till 5, 6 in the morning, and we would go down there and we would make games. Sometimes I would win, sometimes I would lose. I would get spots from better players and trying to learn how to play. Again, there's not very many resources about this. I don't remember what it is, but I know that by this time, AccuStats was around. So your best opportunity to learn anything was AccuStats tapes. And when I say tapes, I mean tapes. It was VHS tapes. There was no such thing as a CD-ROM or a memory disc for your computer at that time. It was VHS tapes. And over the years, I accumulated stacks of AccuStats VHS tapes. And most of them, I bet half of them were Efren Reyes. Half of them. And I would try to study Efren and try to play like Efren. Not knowing what I'm looking at, of course, but doing the best I could. I got better, though. I got better and better. And so, day off or on the weekends and play during the day. And I remember there was a guy who was one of the group back in Laramie, Wyoming, that I played pool with all the time. And he was better than me in Laramie, Wyoming. Okay? And one day I was at Colfax Billiards just by myself shooting pool. Oh, I remember this day too. You're not going to believe this. I was practicing by myself at Colfax Billiards during the day. And I was trying to shoot rotation. Just break the balls wide open, and I was trying to run them off in order, 1 to 15 in order. And I had probably played for an hour and never run a single rack all the way. I might have made it to the 10 or 11 ball once or twice. But I remember this day because after an hour and a half, I actually ran 2 racks in a row all the way to the 15. Now I guarantee you, they were probably laid pretty well after the break. I was getting better at playing pool. I wasn't a newbie anymore, but I still wasn't as good as I thought I was. But I had just run 2 racks in a row. In the door walks this guy that I used to play pool with in Wyoming. Haven't seen him in a couple of years. He saw me, his eyes light up. Hey, you want to play some 8-ball? Sure. 5 a game? All right. I think I beat him 3 games in a row pretty quickly, and he quit. And that was an eye-opener for me, because I didn't have any real understanding of how much better I played then than I did a year or 2 earlier in Laramie. I didn't know. And that was an eye-opener to me. This guy used to beat me in Laramie. He wasn't the slightest bit afraid of me. And that was a half-hour session. I beat him 3 games. and he quit. He was done. He didn't even want to keep trying. And I was like, huh, I must play pretty good. I didn't, but I played a lot better than I did before. I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road. I'm going to stop looking at the camera. Eyes on the road. So that was an eye-opener. The danger, it's also a dangerous thing. When you realize that you're getting better, you can start to think that you know most of what you need to know. And you probably don't. And that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. And I fell into it because I thought I was a really good player then. And I wasn't. I didn't realize it. And it was shortly after that, getting into the 1990, 89, 90, that I started going to other pool halls and getting a little more exposure. And then there was another player, I'll say his name, a fixture of pool in Denver is a player by the name of Chuck Nielsen. Man, what a good player. And at that, when I first met Chuck, he was way better than me, way better. He had been training under Danny Medina. I should mention Danny Medina because it was around the late 80s, I think it was, that I was starting to understand what really good pool was. And somebody had mentioned this guy named Danny Medina. Danny Medina is the best pro that the state of Colorado has ever produced. And so, but he was around Colorado, Denver all the time gambling. I got to watch him play a lot, which was a real treat. For people who don't know who Danny Medina was, you know who John Elway was, the quarterback of the Denver Broncos? Danny Medina was the John Elway of pool in Denver. Holy crap, what a shot maker. He could run out from anywhere. There's a couple of videos of him playing in pro events on AccuStats video, but nothing like what you saw when he was gambling at a local pool hall in Denver. Oh my God, it's amazing. But somebody mentioned that there was a tournament down in this pool hall down on South Sheridan or somewhere, and I was like, and they're like, Danny Medina's going to be in the tournament. So I was like, okay, let me go down there and watch this guy. I didn't get in the tournament because I knew I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't playing tournaments then. I went down there to watch Danny Medina, and I think I didn't get there till partway through the tournament, so I only watched him play like the last. Of course, he won the tournament. I only watched him play the last 2 matches. Again, another time, jaw on the floor. Holy crap! So that's how good this game can be played. Wow. You don't know what you don't know. So don't be critical of someone who doesn't realize that. They'll get there. Help them along. So what an eye-opener watching Danny Medina play. But it also frightened me, and I didn't want to play the local tournaments. There was a good local tournament scene for the amateurs who were very good players. Medina was the favorite to win. The second favorite to win any local tournament around that time in the 1990s in Denver was a guy by the name of Henry Granis, who had a very different style from Danny Medina. But and a lot of times they didn't let Danny play because he was a pro, and which was unfair and bad for the game, but they wouldn't let him play. So if Henry Granis showed up to a tournament, Henry was going to win. Henry had a different style. He was extremely methodical. And he would do it on purpose. He would play the psychological game as much as the physical game. And he was an excellent player, excellent shot maker, cue ball control, but not the slightest bit flashy, very methodical. He played correctly as far as shot process, set up to the shot, pre-shot routine, alignment. He played properly. A very excellent player. And if you look in the records for the BCA, he won the BCA 8-ball men's national back when it was a really tough tournament. He won it more than once, the 7-foot bar table 8-ball. But Henry was the favorite to win a tournament. Chuck Nielsen was an excellent player. He's a threat to win at any time. Jeff Jabs, John Gatton, Tim Cole, Frank Espinoza. God, I know I'm missing a whole bunch of players. A lot of great players back then, and a whole hierarchy of them that I wanted to learn from. And it was Chuck Nielsen who finally encouraged me to play in the tournaments. I was afraid to play. I was like, man, those guys are too good for me. And he was like, you're not going to get better unless you step up. And of course, he was absolutely correct. And so I started playing in tournaments. And this is just a weekly nine-ball tournament, race to 5. That's all, just a weekly event. You'd start at 7 p.m. and finish at 1 a.m. And I played in the tournaments, and it was, I don't know how long it was. It was probably months before I finally cashed. And I took 4th place or 6th place or something like that. And that was a great feeling to do that. That was a really great feeling. And then, what else was I going to say? Oh, and it was Chuck who encouraged me to gamble for a little bit more. And we were at a pool hall on the south end of town once, and he was like, see that guy over there? He'll play you. He'll play you some for 10 a game. He was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I'll play him for 5. Maybe I'll just play him for 5. And Chuck was like, no, play him for 10. Don't play for 5. Step up. He'll play you for 10. And then if you win a little, go to 20. Really? You sure? Get over there and play him. So he really pushed me, and I appreciate that. And so I went over there and played the guy for 10 a game and probably won 50, 60 bucks. And it was a real confidence booster because obviously I didn't have the confidence. But again, you don't know what you don't know. I didn't realize that I was good enough to step up and compete with other amateurs. You can't be worried about whether they're a little better than you or a little worse than you or who's supposed to win. Should you give them the call? Just get out there and play, man. Just step up. Get in the box. So that was a really good lesson for me to learn, something I needed to learn. So started and I never gambled for a lot. I never played 100 a game or anything like that, but $50 sets, mostly $20 sets, up to $50 sets, 10 a game, 20 a game, stuff like that. And then the local tournaments. So that was my career in the early 90s. Another player I should mention is Kevin Satterfield. Wow, what a talent. He was younger than me, young guy, and he quit after a while. He quit permanently, but people were saying he was going to be the next pro from Colorado after Danny Medina. Smooth stroke. What a talent. And I can remember playing all of these guys. I used to go to these tournaments thinking, this is going to be my week. I'm going to win. I'm going to win the tournament this week. I didn't know anything about the mental game. I just thought if you could psych yourself up, maybe you'd have a chance to win. I didn't have a chance to win. But I did cash now and then, and I did start playing a little bit better. And I remember it was probably a year and a half after Chuck encouraged me to start playing the local tournaments that I finally took first place the first time. And I know it was a week where Henry Granis and maybe 1 or 2 of the other best players were out of town or something like that. And ironically, in the finals, I beat Chuck to win the tournament. One of the few times that I beat Chuck. He won most of the time, guaranteed. But that was great. And you have to forget about who's supposed to win. You need to just crumple that up, throw it in the trash, and burn it, man. It just doesn't matter at all. It's balls on the table. Just get out there and perform. Anyway, and you don't know what you don't know. So winning that tournament is another one. I must be a good player. I won a tournament. Well, yeah, you won, Bob, but Henry and those other guys were out of town. Yeah, but I won. Okay, well, you should feel good about winning, but don't let it go to your head because you might forget that you don't know what you don't know. So I still wasn't all that great of a player. I was getting better. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? there was a point, and I don't remember what it was, but it was probably mid to late 1990s. By the way, I had advanced to another queue. I decided it was around this time, mid to late 90s, and by this time I had gone to school, gotten just an associate degree, and I was working as an architect, so things were going great. And I finally decided that I really wanted to see how good I could get at this game. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of pool for 10 years, competing in tournaments, gambling with people, winning a little money. As a matter of fact, before I became an architect, I took a summer off one summer because I was just working menial jobs. And I started out this summer with with $2,000 in my pocket, and I said, July, August, whatever it was, June, July, August, 3 months, I'm not going to do anything but play pool, and I'm going to play tournaments and gamble. And I started out the summer with $2,000 in my pocket, and I didn't work. All I did was play pool, paid my rent, gas, food, everything out of that. And at the end of the summer, I had paid all my bills, all my expenses, meals, restaurants, everything. At the end of the summer, I still had the $2,000. So I had paid my bills, but not more. That's not bad, considering that I wasn't gambling high. Maybe if I had gambled higher, I would have shown more of a profit at the end. But I learned something that summer, and I talked to other people about it. Some of the older guys around the pool hall were experienced, and I learned a lesson. So here's a bonus lesson aside from the you don't know what you don't know. If you're interested in gambling and pool, there's a one primary lesson that you better learn, and that's this: money flows uphill. Think about that. The $5 player loses to the $10 player. The $10 player loses to the $20 player. The $20 player loses to the $50 player. The $50 player loses to the $100 player, and so on. Money flows uphill. So what does that mean? What it means is everyone has a comfort level when they're gambling. So if you want to be a successful gambler, you need to raise your comfort level. And when you're asking someone to play, you need to make sure that they are playing outside of their comfort level. I'm not going to say anything else. You guys take that for what it is. And because I was never a big gambler, so I know that there are things that I don't know. That's one thing I do know. And I'm sure there's a lot more to say about it, and there's a lot that I don't know about gambling. So that's all I'll say about gambling. But that was a big lesson. And I realized at that point, it's not for me. Part of the reason is you look around the pool hall and you see these guys who are 20, 30 years older than you, spent their entire life playing pool and gambling, and they're missing teeth and their clothes have holes in them, and they're smoking cigarettes, and you're like, yeah, I don't think this is a good deal. I don't think it's a good plan. Unless if you're really know how to play it right and you're at the top, and you can be a Minnesota Fats type from the movie, Minnesota Fats type character who really knows how to make a profit. So gambling wasn't for me, but I wanted to play good with the little bit of gambling I did, and the tournaments, especially the tournaments. So mid-late 90s, I decided I wanted to see how good I could actually get at this game. The internet was just warming up, but there still wasn't much on the internet. AccuStats was still making videotapes, and I got those. But I wanted to see how good I could get, and I wrote away you had to write away from these ads in magazines, and I got some materials from different people who some were professing to be good instructors, and some actually were, like Tim Miller, the monk. And of course I bought, and by then there was better books. I already had Willie Mosconi's book, I had Steve Miserak's book, but now you got Robert Byrne and Phil Capel mostly publishing good books. So I bought their books. I bought a binder, a journal, and a notebook, and I set out a plan. I don't know if it was a good plan, but at least I had a plan. And I started going 2 days a week to this pool hall across town in the afternoons when there was no one else there. And I started practicing in a proper way, which I didn't know until that time how to practice properly. And so what I'm talking about is drills. I would go there and shoot drills for 4 out of these books and out of these resources that I had gotten, and always adjusting things and keeping a journal of my results. And I got better. I got quite a bit better from doing that. If you want to get better, I'm sorry if you don't agree, but you have to shoot drills by yourself. There's other things you have to do to get better, but if you don't get on that table, get inside your head, no one else around, figure it out, shoot those drills, challenge yourself and push yourself, and just set a higher standard and decide to play better. The other things that you do aren't going to get you there. It was probably, I don't know how long it took, 6 months to a year, but people talked about me, and they would sometimes they would tell me, they would say, I saw Bob Keller play 6 months ago, and he couldn't make 4 balls in a row, and he got beat. And then now it is 6 months later, and he doesn't know how to miss. That's what they said. Now he doesn't know how to miss. Holy crap. So that can go to your head too. But I was proud, and I knew how that change had come about. I wish I had learned the proper way to practice 10 years earlier. Today, you guys got the internet, you got everything, and you've got top quality, not just good instruction, the best instruction available to you. Clinics and videos, stuff on YouTube, although there's a lot of crap on YouTube, but we can't do anything about that. So many resources, and that's what part of the reason probably why you're seeing these Joshua Fillers and Fedor Gors just go from a kid to top pro in a matter of 3 to 5 years. Just incredible. But I figured out how to play. But I didn't know what I didn't know. I got to the point in the early 2000s, like 2002, 3, 4, I was one of those guys from 10 years earlier. If I showed up to the weekly tournament, I was a favorite to win. And I tracked, in my journal, I tracked every tournament I played in, who I played, what the score was, how I did, and I would take notes. I had little pamphlets that I printed up with pool tables on them. And if there was a run out that I ran out 9 ball, that it was a good run out, I would write it, I would draw it on that pamphlet. And likewise, if I screwed up, missed a shot, failed, I would write it down so that I could go to the pool hall and practice it. If I was watching Medina or Granis or someone else and they made a good out, I would whip out my notepad and draw it so I could go back to the practice table and see if I could do it and learn how to do that. I literally kept records of every tournament I played in, and it was getting to the point when I was playing my very best during that time that I was probably if I went to a tournament, I was 50% favorite to win. I didn't win all the time, but I was one of the favorites. And it was about that time, getting in 2002, 3, 4, that there was a new crop of younger players in Denver who were coming up. And I remember Jay Lovacek was one of them. Really proud of that guy, man. When he first showed up to the tournament, if I drew Jay, it was an easy win. I was like, all right, I got this match, get on to the next one. I don't think it was more than 1 year after I first met Jay that if I drew him in a tournament, my attitude had become, oh crap, I gotta play Jay, I hope I can pull out a win. And then it wasn't much more than 1 year after that my attitude changed to, oh crap, I gotta play Jay, I'm probably going to end up in the loser's bracket. And I'm talking about this because if you apply yourself correctly and get good instruction, 2 years for Jay Lavacek to go from a middling player to a feared player in the local tournament scene. I'm talking a really good run-out player. Semi-pro level. That's what it takes. So about 2004, it was a road trip. Me and Dave Hughes and Jay went to the U.S. Open. So I'm probably playing my best. I'm still playing with my Prather cue, which I bought 5 years or so earlier, which is a steel jointed cue, 58 inches long, not long enough for me. I knew I needed a longer cue, and David told me that the house pro at Cue Masters in Virginia was this pro by the name of Dave Bowman, who was the same height as me, and he makes cues, and he makes long cues. I was like, all right, man, we gotta go play the U.S. Open, get a new cue, get a long cue for me. So we went there. I did terrible. I lost my first 2 matches in the U.S. Open because I knew nothing about the mental game, nothing. I still just thought all you had to do was try really hard. You don't know what you don't know. And I still, to this day, I've learned some. I'm not going to claim I know enough. My mental game has to get better if I want to run 200 balls. I know it does. So that's one of the things I'm going to apply myself to when I get to Arizona. But anyway, I'm sidetracked. That's when I bought the cue that you see me play with today on my videos today. I bought that from Dave Bowman, house pro at Cue Masters, and at the time it was a butt with 3 shafts. The butt and the shafts were each an inch extra, so it was a 61. I think it was a 61 inch cue, 60 or 61. So I was like, yeah, I got a long cue, a 61. As you know, today I play with a 68 inch cue, but it was a longer cue. Anyway. I remember a match I played is fun. 2 matches. So we go to the U.S. Open, and we went to this warm-up tournament in Maryland, and a number of the pros were there for this warm-up tournament. It was the week before the U.S. Open, so we're going to go play in that tournament. Fine. My first match, they called my match. I didn't know who it was. I've never been to Maryland before. I don't know who anyone is. So they called my match. I go play my match. And I probably played pretty wild and fast and loose. I won the match. And I won it pretty convincing. I think it was a race to 7. I think I won 7-3. So I'm feeling good. I won my first match. All right. Hey. I go back to Dave and Jay. I won my match. They go, really? I'm like, yeah, I won. And they both looked at me and they go, do you know who you just beat? No, I don't know. I don't know who I just beat. You just beat Eddie Abraham, the Pennsylvania state champion. Yet another point in the lesson. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Just get in the box and play. Now, guaranteed, if I play Eddie Abraham 10 times, I'm going to win once, maybe twice. He's going to win the other ones. At that time, I don't know how he plays today. I think he still plays better than me. But I didn't know. And that worked to my benefit. They didn't tell me on purpose who I was going to play. So that's an excellent lesson for pool players. I'll relate another anecdote from years earlier. I talked about Henry Granis. Henry Granis was one of the best players in Denver at that time, late 90s. And Henry, this is secondhand. This is an anecdote told to me. Henry Granis was at some pro tournament, and there was a lot of good amateurs, semi-pros, and pros there. and he went there with a couple of other pool players in state courses. And he drew, I don't know who it was, but Henry drew a really, really good player in the tournament. And his friend said to him, "Oh, I see that you drew so-and-so. That's going to be a tough match. How do you think you're going to do against him?" And Henry didn't say a word. I'm trying to remember what the exact, I'm not quite telling the story right. How did they put it? Oh, they said something like, "Man, it's a good player. What do you think of him?" And Henry didn't say a word. Henry just glared at him. So Henry goes and plays his match, beats that pro, goes back to me. That's a lesson for all pool players. It's the same lesson. It doesn't matter who you're playing. What matters is how you perform. Go perform the best you can. I'm not going to say much more about that. There's a whole more lesson to that, but those who are interested will take the time to learn more. Where was I at? Oh, I was at the U.S. Open. So I beat Eddie Abraham my first round, and then I might have won another match against a player who wasn't as good. And then my third round match, I drew Jose Perica. Yes! And any of you who don't know Jose Perica, you all know who Efren Reyes is. Jose Perica was the man before Efren Reyes came over. He was the best. And hard to pick a winner between him and Efren when they were both young. So I drew Jose Perica, and I was excited. Yeah, I get to play Jose. And I pulled out ahead of Jose Perica, 3-1. It's a race to 7. 3-1. I'm ahead of Jose Perica, and I'm feeling good. I feel like remember the movie The Hustler? Paul Newman, after he starts beating Minnesota Fats the first time they started playing, I'm in my chair smiling ear to ear. I can play. I'm ahead of Jose Perica, 3-1. Jose played safe on me. I kicked safe. I returned the kick safe 3 times in a row. He kept playing safe on me. 3 times in a row, I kicked safe. And you could tell he was frustrated over that. He was like, what the heck is going on? The 4th time, I kicked at it, and I barely missed hitting the ball. So now I'm ahead 3-1. Jose has ball in hand. Final score of that match, Jose Perica wins 7-3. Another eye-opener. You don't know what you don't know. Jose Perica realized that this guy's a little better than he thought he was, so he went, shifted gears. And he had more gears beyond that, guaranteed. So that was really, really enjoyable to watch and see what he did and understand. I didn't understand, but I was trying to understand. So that was another eye-opener. So I didn't do well on that U.S. Open, and didn't do a lot more with my pool career because I was working a lot in my architecture career. And so a few years after that, I had gotten a job at a job at another career, and then another firm, and then a few years after that, I started working from home. So now I'm making it. I'm making good money. Now I'm working for myself, working out of my own home, just what I want. Got time to ride my motorcycle, go to the pool hall. Everything's doing great. Now we're up to the year 2008. And I'm not going to say anything about it because I'll get angry. By the time 2009 rolled around, there was no work for any architect anywhere in Denver. Anywhere. No money coming in at all. Had to sell my motorcycle to pay my mortgage for a couple months. Had to sell some other things. Applied for a couple jobs and was competing with over 100 other architects for a job. There was nothing. It was, everything was gone. All right, don't say that. And then also 2009, my mother passed away, so I went home for the funeral. Back to Wisconsin. I don't want to make it sound like that's the only time I went back. I went back other times, but I went back for that. My older brother had been selling on eBay for 10 years or more, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, "Can you show me how to sell on eBay?" So. Long story short, at this time I was not happy. I went from on top of the world very happy to not happy in 1 year. And so I quit playing pool. 2009, quit playing pool. And started selling on eBay, started going to auctions and estate sales. And that became my career. And I did pretty good. I actually saved some money and used some money that I had saved from my architecture career, and about 2000, the year 2014 maybe, I paid off my house. So that was nice. Now I got no bills, just doing that, and I got back into photography. I had been into photography earlier, and so I was took a lot of trips. Oh my God, every year at least one trip, sometimes two or three, out west, where I'm going now. The reason why part of the reason why I'm only going to these places in Utah on this trip is because I've been everywhere else in Utah. Utah is the most beautiful state in the country, in my opinion. In my house, after a while, every single piece of artwork hanging in the walls in my house was my photography, landscape photography. And some of them are pretty good, but I don't know what I don't know, so maybe they're not. But you'll see them on the walls at my house in Arizona after I get things set up. Really got into photography. Joined a photography club, lots of photography trips. I went to Banff National Park in Canada, Yellowstone, all over California, the Redwoods, Joshua Tree, Zion, Canyonlands, Moab, Grand Canyon, everywhere, all over the West. Lots of photography trips. Now the internet, mid 2010s, the internet is big, and I've got a YouTube channel. I'm watching YouTube videos, and all the social media stuff is coming on big. And so what happens when I'm watching YouTube? YouTube suggests pool video. I haven't watched pool in a long time, so now I start watching pool videos. Efren Reyes is still top dog, but there's some new players coming up. Chris Melling, Jason Shaw. I'm trying to remember who the other ones are. But and I'm starting to watch pool, and I'm like, I still have my pool cue. I've got both of my pool cues, my Prather and my Dave Bowman. They're in the closet. They've been sitting there for 9 years. And I found myself watching pool videos more and more. And I finally decided, yeah, I'm not angry anymore. I'm okay. I'm happy. I can play pool again. And you have to be happy to play pool. If you're angry, you're just never going to be there mentally, or depressed. You're just never going to be there. It's never going to work. So I was ready. I was ready to play pool again. So this is the year 2019. Took my pool cue and went down to the pool hall and played. And amazingly, I could make a couple of shots. Played better for the first half hour. After a half hour, I started playing worse. At first, I was like, hey, man, this is like riding a bike. I'm right back on. But then you try to do more, and then the shots get tougher. But I've been laid off for 10 years. So, and then one of the things I decided in 2019, I'm going back to pool. I decided no more 9-ball. I never liked 9-ball in the first place, and that's a whole nother video I can make. I never liked it. You had to play 9-ball because that's what everybody played. I was a straight pool player. I want to play straight pool in one pocket. I love one pocket. But straight pool and one pocket are intelligent games. 9-ball is just paint by numbers. It's 9-ball is execution. You have to be a good player. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy. But it's just about execution and making good decisions. You play safe, get ball in hand, bing, 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 run out. It's just boring. Straight pool and one pocket are the best games. You have to be able to think and play. You got to be able to do both. So I joined the straight pool league, and I had played the straight pool league 10 years earlier when Peter Way was running it in Denver, and I had some trophies from that. And so I started playing the straight pool league at Felt Bar in Denver. Now David Sheasley is running it. David Sheasley encouraged me to give instruction. That's how my book started. So started playing the straight pool league, started practicing again. I don't know if I've ever since I came back to pool, if I've ever practiced with the same diligence that I did back in the late 1990s. I don't know. I think I did, but I'm not sure. But I plan to try in Arizona when I get there. That's my goal. We'll see. So, got back into pool, straight pool. After a year or so, David Sheasley talked me. We had been talking about it, and he said, "Hey, man, you should give a group lesson on straight pool." I'm like, "Okay, I'd love to." So we organized a lesson for the members of the straight pool league, a group lesson, and then not just one session. We decided it would be like, I think, 6 sessions. So 6 group kind of clinics to show straight pool, and I had to write some things out so I could kind of plan what topics I was going to cover in each of those sessions. And David talked to me about it. He's like, "You got it written down?" "Yeah." "Okay." He goes, "Oh, you have it written down? Well, you should print it out so that you can give a copy to each of the students." And I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I could do that, sure." But of course, what I had written out was kind of rough and just scribbly. So, all right, now I got to sit down and write it out in a nice format for the students so it looks presentable and nice. So I did that. And showed it to David, and David was like, "Yeah, this looks nice. You should expand this a little bit more, with more of the descriptions that you talk about during the clinics." Yeah, I guess I could do that. Then it would be a little more of a booklet. So I started working on that, and then David was like, "You should write a book. This is a book. You have the makings of a book here." I'm like, "Do I really? You sure?" So thank you, David. So he pushed me, kept going. David wanted to write parts of the book, and I wouldn't let him because I wanted. This was I was kind of bringing forth my love for the game of straight pool and everything that I had learned over the years. And I think it's a great book, Shortstop on Pool. If you haven't heard of it, get out from under your rock and go look it up, shortstoponpool.com. By the way, David is making rumors of writing his own book now, so I'll look forward to that. Good luck to him. I've learned not to be arrogant. I try to be humble all the time because I know that I do not know what I don't know. And I'm 61 years old. I've been playing pool now for 41 years. I know that I will, on my deathbed, I still will not know everything there is about pool. I won't. It's not possible. So if it's not possible for me, it's not possible for anyone. So everybody needs to be humble. Just remember, you don't know what you don't know. It's been, I think, it's been 3 years now since the book Shortstop on Pool was published. And I'm proud of that book, and I think it's an excellent book. And I think if I sat down today to write the same book, I would write a better book. But I think all authors probably say that, don't they? They probably do. And so maybe in some point in the future there's going to be a supplement about some new things. I don't know. I have an idea for another book which is not straight pool related. It will apply to all pool games. So hoping that in Arizona, I actually have plans already for station for writing. So we'll see if that happens, hopefully. My primary focus is going to be training. I want to run 200 balls in straight pool. I'd like to get a straight pool league going in Phoenix. I've heard that it's been tried before and didn't, just kind of petered out. I don't know. But Phoenix is way bigger than Denver, so there's got to be enough players. There's got to be. So that'll be a learning experience because I know nothing about running the league. I only know about playing in it. I think it would be great. I think it would be great for pool. So we'll see if that happens. What else do I have to say? I don't know. I just kind of wanted to tell my story. It's not an exciting story. Like I said, I have never been a big gambler, and I've always been jealous of the guys who will gamble for 500 a set, 1,000 a set, 10,000, whatever. Just never appealed to me. Always been more of a tournament player, and never was a great player. I was pretty darn good. I got to be pretty darn good in the early 2000s is when I played my best. Best 9-ball, that is. I was playing 9-ball then. But I'm really trying to be the best straight pool player I can be. That's my focus. I plan on playing tournaments in Phoenix, which is going to mean 9-ball. And I'm fine with that. 9-ball and 10-ball. That's great. And one pocket. If there's any one pocket tournaments, I'll be looking for those. So I've looked on the Arizona Pool Players Facebook page, and so far I've only seen advertisements where they'll say 500 and under, 550 and under, 640 and under Fargo. And I'm 673 right now, 674. So hopefully I can find some 9-ball tournaments to play in on 9-foot tables. My Fargo rating is 674, but 90% of that Fargo rating is from bar table 8-ball. I played on a few league teams in recent years on BCA and VNEA. And I got a Golden Charlie a couple of years ago, and we took second, I think, in the BCA. Was it the Chisholm? Was it the men's? No, we were in the Masters, weren't we? I don't know. I think it was the Masters. We took second. We won. We were in the losers bracket, and we won the first match of the finals, and then lost the second match. So we took second. Real proud of that. Great teams. Colorado has a lot of great teams. Holy crap, really good teams. Anyway, but my Fargo is mostly from bar table 8-ball, so I don't think it's a true representation. I want to play more tournaments, which is going to be 9-ball and 10-ball, because usually they don't report straight one pocket tournaments to Fargo, because I want to know what my real Fargo is. Will we ever know? Is 674 my real Fargo? I bet the people from Fargo would claim that even though it's mostly from bar table 8-ball, it's still an accurate representation of my skill. They might say that. They might be right. I don't know. Hopefully I can find out. But but straight pools is my focus. Got some ideas for some good things. My pool table setup at my home in Arizona is going to be way better. I'm going to have multiple camera angles, over 7 feet around all sides of the table. I'll be able to do run attempts from home. I'm going to be able to do more better drills that require you to shoot from all sides of the table, and talk about more instructional videos. I feel like I've been lacking a lot in the instructional videos. I want to share what I know, and a big part of the reason is because every time you teach, you learn. And I don't know what I don't know, but when I teach, I learn. There's always something that I figured out on my own, or somebody says something that either teaches me directly or points me in a direction where I learn something. So really looking forward to that. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say. I don't know how close I am to a camera. Let me see. Let me look at the dash. I got 170 miles left on the tank, 330. Yeah, I'm probably not too far. I probably what time is it? Yeah, it's almost 3 o'clock. I got a couple more hours to go to Kemmerer, but hey, this has been great. This has helped keep me awake and alert. I don't think I came close to crashing more than 2 or 3 times. I know I'm glancing over at my selfie on my phone, and I shouldn't be doing that. I need to just look straight ahead when I do these videos. Keep your eyes on the road, man. But I've done well. driving, I'm saying I've done well. Have you been able to see much scenery out the window? I doubt it. I'll experiment with a better camera angle. Let me know if this was any good. I don't even know if the sound quality is any good. I don't know if anyone can understand me. I'm like a couple feet away from the microphone on my cell phone, but I'll check it out, see if the video quality looks any good, see if the audio quality is any good. Let me know in the comments. Is this something you want to see some more? When I drive from my house in Arizona up to Phoenix, I'm telling me it's a 45-minute drive. This might be something I could do. Just turn on the selfie, like some other pool players do and other YouTubers do, and just talk on the phone. Let me know if that's something you want me to do. I'll do it if you like it. I seem to have the gift of gab. I don't know how. I've always been a very quiet person. All right, I think that's enough. I wish that I could read the chat and reply while I'm driving, but it just wouldn't be safe. I don't want to do that. But I will read your comments and reply to them, so leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Is this good, bad? Is it crap? Don't ever do this again? Or are you looking forward to the next one? And I've got the next 2 Rack of the Week videos are already uploaded to YouTube. They're going to go live automatically. I'm going to be really busy for the first couple of weeks setting up house. So I've got those Rack of the Weeks ready to go, but I will be online and I will be doing more videos, and I'm working on the video right now, Beginner's Guide to Straight Pool. It's going to be a visual guide rather than just written. So every single rule and how to play, I'm going to demonstrate visually. And so I don't think it's going to be all that long. It'll be a pretty quick video, but I think it'll be helpful for beginners and intermediates alike. I think it'll be, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, that's enough. Time to go. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know in the comments. See you later. Bye.